All right, today we're building a lead generation machine using LinkedIn. Basically, I'm gonna show you like all the strategies that I've been leveraging in order to book from 5 to 10 appointments, every single day, and basically building over, 2,000 plus appointments, using LinkedIn. And I'll basically share everything with this training. Building a lead generation machine using LinkedIn is similar to building a house. You need to make sure that you have strong foundations in order for it to succeed. So I'll show you everything that we've been able to learn, over the years in order for you to essentially build more accounts. I won't hold off. I'll give you all the strategies that we have. So let's actually dive into it right now. All right. So basically, this is our exact cold outreach training framework. The first thing that you have to do is basically creating a tailored offer. I know Armozy talks about it. Every single Armozy lookalikes are talking about it as well. But it's true. You need to build an offer that's going to be like a no-brainer, and especially an offer that's going to be tailored to cold outreach. So one quote that I love is basically saying that people buy what they want, not necessarily what they need. So essentially, you need to focus on giving them something that they need and desire. Otherwise, you're not going to see success, with your lead generation process, and you're going to follow this. It's not going to work. Do this stuff. Create an offer, that's going to be a no-brainer. Follow this video because I'm actually going to show you how to do it, and I'm going to give you, this cheat sheet that are going to help you to do that as well. By the way, you don't need to take notes. Everything's going to be down below. You'll be able to find this document down below. So yeah, first thing that you'll need, in order for you to make sure that your service is still into cold outreach, you first need to, you first need to essentially go through the service optimization doc. Ideally, your offer needs to have multiple of those components, so it needs to make money, for people. It needs to save time, save money. It needs to be a priority, for the company. It needs to be multiple providers. You need to provide fast results, a clear return on investment, fast growing market. You get it. Basically, your offer needs to be something that's really, really valuable for your ideal clients. So yeah, so essentially, you have all the details, so you can just go through it. And from there, you can kind of see if your service, fits those different things. From there, once you've done that, you go to the service audit cheat sheet. And at this point, it's going to help you to identify whether, your niche is basically a good niche, whether your services as well is basically a good service for your niche as well. So yeah, and basically there's a score. If you are a 1 to 3, you need to work on that. If you're 4 to 7, same thing. 11 to 8, it's good, but I would still work on it. 12 to 14, you're good. At 15, you're amazing. Basically, do this, you'll find this cheat sheet again down below with the entire documents. So you don't need to take notes, just follow the video. And then from there, you'll be able to implement it right after. Cool. Once you've established, what your service is, and if it's a no-brainer to your ideal clients, at this point, you need to formulate your offer. And typically, the framework that I like to use is we specifically work with sub-niche to solve problem, get desired results, or transformation in a specific time frame without a frustration pain point, that comes with getting the actual results, using the proprietary method. And then from there, you basically had some risk mitigation or risk reversal, which is basically a guarantee. So there's multiple things you can do. If you have an agency, the best guarantee is always hey, we'll work for free, until you get X outcome. I wouldn't necessarily do hey, we give you your money back, because everybody's doing it, or you can do a performance-based guarantee where it's hey, okay, we take a percentage of each deals, and we don't charge you recurring amounts, stuff like that to mitigate the risk, and that's gonna make your offer again a no-brainer. Because there is no risk, plus you get them their ideal outcome, plus you're removing stuff that they do not want. So yeah, so this stuff is really powerful. So go ahead and do that as well. From there, step number 2, once you have the foundations that are built out, you then need to essentially build the walls. And building the walls equals to optimizing your profile for cold outreach. So the first thing that you'll have to do is you'll have to essentially create a profile funnel. You need to make sure that your LinkedIn profile is not a resume, but more of a funnel. Essentially, when people go on your website, there needs to be clear calls to actions, stuff that tells them what to do in order for them to take action on something specific. Maybe it's booking a call with you. Maybe it's like going through a training. Maybe it's going through, I don't know, whatever, but there needs to be an action that they take once they go on your profile. I'll give you an interesting stat. Actually, 70% of people that connect with you ultimately go on your profile and check you out. So why wouldn't you like take advantage of that by optimizing your profile? Cool. So let me actually show you my profile so that we can see what it looks like. So the first thing, you need to make sure that you essentially have a clear like profile picture. You know, it needs to be professional. I don't want you like flexing, you know, your fish, or I don't want you with like your dog or something, or like, I don't know, it needs to be professional, a clear picture of you, you know, that's professional. From there, what I typically like to include is a bright background, you know, so something that's really bright so that way I can stand out, because there's a lot of competition on LinkedIn. So in order for me to stand out, you know, I basically had this this red background. What we notice is like we basically got a lot more connections, you know, by basically implementing this. And I've got like compliments from people saying, hey, like your photo actually stood out. That's why I responded to the message. So from there, you can basically like create a background picture, you know, that clearly explains, you know, what you do. Don't overthink this. You know, it's not that big of a deal. I know there's people that tell you, yeah, you need to just put something on there that's going to explain what you do, high level, and that's it. From there, this is basically like controversial, but like when it comes to the tagline, I used to say back in the day that you had to add something like, I help specific industry to get X, Y, and Z, you know. Basically, everybody's doing that now. So in order for you to stand out, what you need to do is essentially just add to know your company URL, and that's it, you know. Because ultimately people, what they do is they go on your website and they basically like go ahead and like watch your website from there. So that's why, you know, it says co-founder at uselinker.com. What you can also add is basically like flexing all of your big numbers. Let's say that you went from 0 to 1 million in 12 to 24 months, flex that. If you went from 0 to 100K per month, you know, in like 3 months, flex that as well. Put everything, you know, that's like almost a flex for you, so that way people can like take you more seriously as well. Cool. From there, the most important thing is basically the about section. A lot of people just tell like, I mean, they tell their life story about how they, you know, they went to university, you know, they worked at this job and this job and this job. And they, like, people do not care about this stuff because people only care about themselves. Like, people only care about themselves. So you need to basically talk about them on your profile. In this case, you know, you can see that I'm like calling out, you know, my ideal prospects. I'm like, do you want to book more sales calls with ready to buy prospects? Tired of listening to messages and emails with no results? Then keep reading. Now basically go over, you know, different things, you know, that we can help them with. And the call to action at the end is join, you know, code.breach Mafia, which is like our program, essentially. So yeah, from there, you can see that this is basically a sales letter. You know, as simple as that. This is a sales letter. If you want, you know, you can actually go on my profile, put this in ChatGPT, apply that to what you do, and then tell it to like rewrite the whole thing. I authorize you. Don't steal my thing, you know, so don't like say the exact same stuff, you know, please. But you can actually go on my profile, and then from there, you go ahead and like take that, you put it in ChatGPT, and it's going to reformulate the entire thing as well. So yeah, that's pretty much it. I'll do even better. I'll actually add a cheat sheet, you know, in there so that way you don't have to do that. And it's going to show you like what to say, and then you put that in ChatGPT. So yeah, you're welcome. All right. So the featured section. When it comes to the featured section, it is really, really important as well, because like this is what people, I mean, people are going to be able to see like what you've been able to do. And oftentimes, you know, you see a lot of people that add, you know, their client testimonials, you know, just like I did. If you want to book more appointments, you know, what I'll do is I'll basically go ahead and just add your calendar in there. Essentially, the call to action in your, where is it? So your call to action in your about section will be to book a call. And then from your featured section, you then add your calendar so that people can go ahead and click on it in order to book a call with you. What you can also do is basically add, you know, some piece of content, you know, sales assets that you can check out, you know. And cool. Next, what you need to do is basically optimize, you know, your experience section. Yeah. Basically, as you can see, everything on my profile is optimized so that people can either book a call or it's either they can like basically watch our sales assets essentially. So when you see like the call to action, it says, hey, find a time, that will post to our calendar here, book a call, and here's the link, and then we include the calendar so people can actually go ahead and book. And then finally, there's actually something that you can do as well, is you can basically like add a link, in on your company page. And then what you do is you basically include your calendar as well. This is really, really powerful stuff because like everything on the profile is created in a way to make people take an action. Whether it's booking a call, whether it's like, I don't know, watching a video, watching a YouTube video maybe, but basically they'll take an action. And the goal is to convert 1% of everybody that goes in your profile to actually book a call and take action. Cool. Next step, number 3, identifying your target audience. This is going to be really, really key. Essentially, in order for you to identify your target audience, first thing you have to do is you must choose an industry with at least 50,000 prospects on Sales Navigator. Sales Navigator is basically a tool that allows you to find like leads, and I'll show you how to use that in a sec. Essentially, if you have less than 50,000 prospects, I wouldn't necessarily go for that industry, specifically if you're doing LinkedIn outreach. So yeah, ideally you want to select a niche that you have experience in, obviously, because you have case studies in that niche, ideally, most likely. So it means that essentially it's going to be a lot easier for you to crush it with that niche. Number 4, once we build like the foundation, we have the walls, now we need like a rooftop, right? And rooftop is basically your niche. So what you need to do is basically picking 3 niches based on 4 different criteria. The first one is market size, pain points, relevance to your offer, engagement, and the engagement potential in this case. And to define what niches you need to pick, leverage a niche research doc. Essentially it's a document that we put together in order for us to like pick niches, based on different criteria. So let's say that you go for 3 niches: clothing brands, skincare brands, and B2B SaaS companies. Essentially what you're going to do is you're going to rank each niches based on each criteria. So are they on LinkedIn? On the scale to 1 to 10, are they on LinkedIn? If there's like 50,000 prospects, maybe I'll do like, I don't know, an 8. If there's like 1 million for this one, maybe I'll put it at a 10, for example. I'm just like making stuff up, saying stuff, but basically like rank it accordingly. From there, do they really need your services? Amount of pain you get off their shoulders. Do they have the budget for your services? How much do you enjoy with them? And at the end, basically you'll have a specific score, and you basically go for like the niches that has like the biggest score in this case. I'll do this with like more than 3 niches, obviously. I'll want to end up with at least 3 niches so that way I can like test out different things. Because if you have no experience with cold outreach or LinkedIn outreach at all, you're going to fuck up. So essentially, to put everything in your corner, you need to test more things in order for you to see like who responds more, which niches you like, and from talk to different people, and then from there decide which niche you want to focus on. So at first, I'll focus on at least picking 3 niches to make your job easier. Number 5, finding prospects on Sales Navigator. I'll actually give you a step-by-step guide on how to find prospects on Sales Navigator. A lot of people struggle to find good leads on Sales Navigator. I'll show you how to target real estate agents, and I'll show you different ways for you to do so. The first thing that I'll do is I'll basically add keywords on your Sales Navigator. So Sales Navigator is essentially a tool created by LinkedIn that gives you it's heavily keywords based, and there's a lot of filters as well that allow you to find different kind of prospects. So if I add the keywords real estate, I can see that there's 5 million plus people in this niche. So it fits our criteria. It's actually 30 million. It fits our criteria of having at least 50,000. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put more specific keywords in this case. So I'm going to say real estate agents. So 850,000 prospects. Okay, cool. It's good. Then I'm going to do or renter. Or, and basically when you do or, it means that you basically you're saying to LinkedIn, I want this keyword or I want this keyword, say, so we'll do or on a state broker. Cool. So we now have 2 million prospects, that fit our ICP. It's not enough. We need to basically like filter them out and only target people who are going to be a fit. The first thing that I like to do is essentially pick people that are not in my connections already. So I'll do second and third. From there, we'll do company headcount. We can do 11 to 50 if you want like a bigger agency, for example. Function, we'll do real estate for this one, and we'll do business development as well. Because we want to, let's assume that I'm doing like some sort of lead generation service for realtors. I'll do business development. From there, what I'll do is I'll basically target the right role. So I'll actually remove everybody who's not essentially a realtor. So first thing actually that I'll do is I'll add the industry. So I'll do real estate agents and brokers. Perfect. And then I'll do for the job title, I'll do realtor estate real estate agent. I'll do estate broker. All right. Once I have those, I have like 4.5. What I can do is I can basically target them based on location in this case. And then I'll do North America. Okay. Once I basically have, so basically at this point, I have a list of 3,000 real estate agents, who are going to be like a fit, for my services because they're in real estate. Some of them are in business development, so it means that they would most likely want, some of my services, let's say. You can also add like the personal geography. That's pretty much, the same thing, especially for the real estate industry. Then finally, what you want to do is you want to target people who posted on LinkedIn. You're going to notice that if you basically target people who posted on LinkedIn, your reply rate is going to go up because they're more likely to respond to your message in this case. So that's why we're doing this, So I'd rather have like lesser amount of prospects than having more prospects and they don't respond. So your reply rate is going to go up if you do something like this. Cool. Now, if I want to broaden that a little bit and have more companies, I might do 1 to 10, as well. Because ideally, I'd want to have at least 1,000, people in the search. So now I have 1,000 good prospects who post on LinkedIn, who are active on the platform, or doing business development. Obviously, they might need more leads. Essentially, if I reach out to them, I can basically go ahead and craft a messaging that's going to be tailored to that industry. And that's going to be the next step. So stick around so that we can see how we actually create the messaging. Cool. All right. Number 6, leveraging intent-based prospecting methods. Intent-based prospecting methods. So the first thing that I'm going to do is I'll go on LinkedIn and I'll actually show you different ways to target people based on intent. That's the thing, with LinkedIn, everybody's focusing on Sales Navigator, but Sales Navigator is just one way for you to target your prospects. What I like to do is basically leverage Sales Navigator and leverage intent-based campaigns. And I'm going to explain what it is. Essentially, an intent-based campaign is whenever you reach out to someone who has done a specific action, and from there, you send them a message, that's more specific and personalized to call out the action that they've done, You can do a lot of assumptions based on actions that people have taken. For example, following a company page, commenting on a post, joining an event, being in a specific group. It means that most likely, that person is interested in whatever topic that they engaged with. So the first thing, that you can do is basically leverage different posts, So let me show. So let's say, that your competitor is Justin Welsh, for example. what you can do is actually go on Justin's post, and you can basically go ahead and like take one of his posts if you're in like the similar niche. And then from there, you go ahead and scrape all those comments, and then you take all those prospects, and from there you go ahead and reach out, And by the way, like, we're building a tool, that's going to help you to do that. It's called Linker, so you can go on www.uselinker.com in order for you to check it out. Essentially, you can like scrape comments, with a software like this, or a similar one. And basically, what you can do is you can then reach out to those people in order to tell them, hey, I see that you commented on this post and you were interested by X topic, Then you pitch your offer, you explain what you do. This works so much, that is crazy. Like, we got from a 20% reply rate to a 40% reply rate by basically leveraging intent-based prospects in this case. So you can do the same thing as well with events. So I recently hosted an event, called like the Cold Outreach Masterclass, where I shared like a bunch of strategies. There's basically like 20 plus people that have applied. So what you could do is like literally like take, a tool like Linker, and then from there basically scrape all those comments, and then reach out to them either with an email or with a LinkedIn message. In this case, I focus on LinkedIn. You can basically go ahead and like say, hey, I see that we went to the same event, we went to X event, that seems really interesting and stuff. What did you think of the event? And then from there you can like pitch offering what you do, because again, based on specific actions that people have taken, you can make assumptions based on what they are trying to accomplish, That's how you like personalize at scale, using intent-based outreach in this case. Cool. Next, number 7, crafting your messaging. That's like the hardest thing, that most people struggle to do, is basically like creating a message that's going to be engaging. Now I'm going to show you 2 types of messages that you can create, and I'm going to show you how to pick, what type of message to pick based on your situation and where you're at. The first type of message is the engagement method. Basically, it means that you're building relationships, you're asking more questions before you pitch the prospect, Second one is basically the direct method. This is a method that I like a lot, which is more straightforward with a clear value proposition, and you make an offer, directly to the person. Now, in order for you to like choose the right one, it basically depends on 2 things. It depends on your sales cycle, and your preference as well, So if you have a short sales cycle, basically you can leverage, the direct approach. It's going to be a lot better for you. If you have a longer sales cycle, you can basically do the engagement method. It's going to be a lot more effective in order for you to like build relationships instead of just pitching right away, because they might get a lot of pitches already. So you might want to like innovate and engage, then from there pitch them. And I'll show you in a sec how to do that. So let me actually give you an example of the direct approach. So this is a message that I've crafted in order to show you. Let's take like the real estate agents, as well. Basically, the first thing that you want to do is you want to ask a question. Don't ask a silly question like, hey, have you been to Paris before? Because I really feel that. Don't ask a silly question. Ask a question that's related to obviously what is it that they most likely want. So if I'm reaching out to a real estate agent, I might say, do you have leads or a database of homeowners that are looking to sell? That's a really, really good question, because I'm calling out what they might want. And I'm not making any assumptions. I'm asking, hey, do you guys have leads or a database of homeowners looking to sell? Then I give them the reason why I'm asking. And at the same time, I basically go over, I don't know why I did that. I basically go over my offer. So I said, because I have a team of experienced sales reps who are used to calling homeowners who are in the process of selling and getting realtors an extra 2 to 5 listing every single month. So you basically like explain your offer. As you can see, something that's like different, than what everybody is saying. Everybody is using the generic stuff like, I help real estate agents to get 2 to 5 listings, in this case, I'm giving more context, So it's almost like I'm not pitching. I'm just saying like what we have. I'm just saying I have a team of experienced sales reps who are used to calling homeowners who are in the process of selling, ideal situation, and getting realtors an extra 2 to 5 listings every single month. Ideal situation again. And then from there, what you can say is you basically add some risk mitigation. Because a lot of the time, that's why like people don't get responses and they send a message, but they don't have any risk mitigation. Why should that person like go on a call with you if like you're doing the same thing as like the next guy, you know? That's why we want to add some risk mitigation or risk reversal. So that's what we're saying. Our reps are performance based. I mean, would that be with a conversation? So our reps are performance based, meaning that we're doing it on a performance basis. So therefore, you know, there is like almost no risk. So we're removing the risk, you know, for them. And then in the end, with the call to action, it's pretty simple. It's like, I mean, would that be worth a conversation? That's the best one. And that's the one that I like the most. And yeah. So if I was like in a realistic space, I would definitely leverage a message like this. And I know for a fact that it would work because of how I structured the messaging. Now, the engagement method. The engagement method is not like asking like questions who are not related to what you're trying to do. You're not trying to make friends on LinkedIn. You're trying to sell your products. You're trying to, of course, connect, but you're trying to like essentially make a sale in this case, you know. I know a lot of people who are heavily relationship based, where they ask you questions, you know, just to pretend, you know, that they're your friend. And then from there, maybe they're going to ask you. This stuff for me doesn't work. What works is basically asking specific questions related to the problems that they're experiencing. The goal of the engagement method is to find inefficiencies, you know, and then from there, once you find enough inefficiencies, you can basically pitch them. Let me give you an example. If I reach out to a real estate agent, what I'll do is I'll basically craft an open-ended question. So I'll say, hey, I see that you're a realtor. You know, I'm curious. I'll actually start with the question. I'm curious, like, do you guys have leads or a database of homeowners looking to sell? You know, person's gonna say, oh yes, for sure. We have like 5 people and we have like 5 leads, you know, every single week, you know, who are calling. But yeah, I don't have the time to call them, you know. I'll say, cool. And right now, like, what are you doing in order for you to do da 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 da? I don't know what to say, but you basically like ask a question in order to find inefficiencies. Then you ask another question, then another question. Ideally, I'll do 2 or 3 questions in order to find more and more inefficiencies. From there, at some point, you're going to find a way for you. I mean, at some point, you're going to be able to pitch them because it's going to make sense. And what I like to use when I'm crafting those questions, just so you know, is the water framework. Let's say that you know that you're in New York, it's hot, you know, you're trying to, I don't know, you're trying to sell water, for example. Essentially, if you and I were competing against each other, you have like 5 bottles of water. I have 5 bottles of water as well. If you go out there and reach out to people and say, hey, do you guys want water? Do you guys want water? Most likely what people are going to say is like, no, I do not want your water, you know. So your conversion rate is going to be like terrible. But if I go and I take the same like bottles of water and I say, hey, are you guys thirsty? And from there people say yes or no. I've only focused on those that say yes. And from there I say, do you want water? At this point, it's a no-brainer because they just said that they wanted water. So that's how you basically leverage with something like this. If you want to get responses, use the water framework. It's number 8, automation tools, you know, for your messaging. Basically, what I typically recommend is leveraging tools like WeConnect.io or Expendi. We mostly use WeConnect, you know, we've been using it for the past 4 or 5 years. Expendi is a good one as well. But you can basically leverage like either one of those. It does the same thing. It's not that important, but yeah, you can use those. Number 9, creating your campaign. Essentially, I'll show you like how to create, you know, your campaign using essentially WeConnect. So there's 2 things, you know, that you can do. What you can do is take your search and then from there use a tool like Linker in order to scrape it, because you're gonna find that a lot of time, you know, this kind of stuff. It's like there's always people who are not like a good fit, you know, for what you do. So you might reach out to people who are not real estate agents, you know, maybe they're real estate investors. And that happens a lot with LinkedIn Sales Navigator. Although it's like $1 billion company, they still haven't fixed this stuff. So you might get like less responses because you're not reaching out to the right people, even though you've done all the right things. So you can basically leverage, you know, a tool like Linker. And from there, you know, scrape the leads, you know, Linker will clean the entire list, you know, for you. And then from there, you can add those leads into WeConnect. Or you can basically like take those leads and just put them into WeConnect. And it's going to take the leads and create, essentially put it into WeConnect. Only thing is that you'll have leads who are not going to be, some leads might not be qualified. That's just it. Number 10, responding, to messages and booking calls. This is like one of the reasons why people don't succeed, because they're doing some of the right things, but they don't know how to book the call. I've even had like some of my own appointment setters, that didn't know how to like convert calls, saying that, hey, I send a calendar, people don't book. I don't know why, and stuff. And the mistake that most people do is they basically go ahead and like send the calendar expecting the person to just book it, and that's it. So essentially, like, there are 4 golden rules, to make sure that you're booking as many calls as possible. So number 1, never keep it in the DMs. You're better off like reaching out to somebody else than talking to someone that doesn't want to hop on the call. Maybe they'll want to hop on the call later, maybe it's not the right time, but just focus on another prospect. There are plenty of prospects. Having an abundance mindset is going to help you. Number 2, never send an email, when someone asks you to. So if someone tells you, hey, send me an email, like, this is one of the most frustrating thing that I see on LinkedIn is like, we're already talking on LinkedIn. Why should I send you an email? It's the same thing, right? If someone tells you to send an email, don't send an email. Move to the next prospect, I'll show you how to actually like mitigate that, so that way you can book them on a call. But yeah, from there, never reach out to colleagues that they tell you to reach out to. They say, okay, hey, reach out to Frank, he's like the perfect guy for this and stuff. Never reach out to them. Oftentimes, there's no context, they don't know you, so they will not respond. So if they're not the right person, that's fine. Just move to a next prospect. This stuff, like when you're trying to book calls, using LinkedIn, focus on prospects who are interested. Always focus on prospects who are interested. You're going to be better off like focusing on that because they are interested. Don't make your life harder, than it currently is in it. Number 4, which is the most important one, always go for the appointment. No matter what someone says, always go for the appointment. This is going to like get you from like a 1% booking rate to maybe a 5 or 10% booking rate. Whenever someone tells me like, hey, send me an email, I'll say, hey, actually, yeah, for sure, but why don't we like actually hop on the call and I'll show you how this stuff works. I'll show you how to do X, Y, and Z and X, Y, and Z. You got time this week? If someone tells me, hey, like reach out to my colleague, Frank, I might say, hey, but why don't we like actually hop on the call and then we can like kind of talk, and then from there you can like introduce me to Frank if he wants. But essentially, let's just hop on a call, quick 15-minute call, and then we'll talk and network for a bit. I'd rather like do a networking call than like reach out to somebody else, because it gives me like, I'd rather talk to them, so that way I'm on the phone. What if someone tells you like, hey, I don't know, tell me more information or send me an email, Yeah, for sure. But why don't we actually hop on the call, and I'll show you like specifically how this stuff works, X, Y, and Z works, just a quick 15-minute chat. And yeah, basically there's no obligation, but just wanna go over like a call. And you'll be surprised to see that people on LinkedIn actually just go on a call with you sometimes. They say, okay, for sure, why not? Because people are more open, to it, because it's a business platform on LinkedIn. So I highly encourage you to choose this framework. Always go for the call. So yeah, that's basically it. Now, let me actually give you the framework, to book an appointment. This framework, like, you need to save this, go on down below in order for you to get the document once you're done with the video, because this is key. But this is the framework to book an appointment. Don't just send your calendar, please. Don't just send your calendar, because people are like, you're expecting the person to book and you're just relying on them to just book the call. In this case, what I want you to do instead, is I want you to ask for permission to send your calendar. So you might say something like, hey, is it cool if I send you my calendar so we can have like a quick 15-minute chat sometime this week? Oh yes, for sure. They respond. Boom. Once they respond, you send your calendar. Once you send your calendar, you basically tell them, hey, so here's my calendar, and then you can say, let me know when you book and I'll confirm it. This is like really, really key, because you're keeping them accountable. You're not just expecting them to book, and people are more likely to take an action once, they've confirmed, that they'll essentially like book. That's why we said at first, is it cool if I send my calendar here so we can chat? People are a lot more likely to essentially book the call. So that's the framework that, that we use all the time in order for us to book calls. Use that, it's really powerful. Cool. Number 11, tracking your stats. Tracking your stats is really important. You need to know what works, what doesn't work, when doing LinkedIn outreach. It's not just about like, okay, I'm getting responses. So what you want to track is essentially two things. It's the response rate and your connection rate. So what I typically do is basically I follow the 20% rule, which means that I should have a 20% connection rate at least and a 20% reply rate. If you have those numbers, on LinkedIn, you're pretty good. People are responding to your message and your messaging is healthy. Just keep in mind that when you do the direct approach, you might get a lower response rate, compared to the engagement method. But essentially, more of your responses are like interested because it's a lot more straight to the point. The engagement method obviously takes more time, so you get more responses because it's an open-ended question. But at the same time, like you convert less people. That's why I personally prefer the direct approach. So yeah. Now, number 12, how to adjust your strategy based on your stats. Just know that when it comes to your connection rate, if it's below 10%, you need to change, your audience or improve your search. It means that you're not reaching out to the right people necessarily, so essentially you need to change your search. You go back on Sales Navigator and you redo, the entire thing. Above 10%, but below 20%, it means that you need to improve, your connection notes and make it more personalized. So maybe I might want to include like their profession. I might want to include like their location or something. But essentially you're really close, to getting to 20%, but you need to make sure that you make it more personalized so that we get more people that accept your connection rate. From there, when it comes to your reply rate, if it's below 10%, you need to completely change your messaging and check your audience as well, because you never know, it might be your audience. Essentially change your messaging because it's not a good message. If it's above 10%, but below 20%, you need to improve, your message and make it more intriguing or ask better questions, or you might want to work on your opener and your offer, Basically, you need to like optimize and change, your messaging. These are like the overall stats that you follow. If you follow these rules, you'll be pretty good, when you're doing LinkedIn outreach. Number 13, scaling your cold outreach campaigns, So a lot of the time people don't necessarily know how to scale their cold outreach campaigns, because they think that's like so hard. It's actually easier than you think. What you need to leverage is the horizontal scaling method. It's basically a concept, from a good LinkedIn coach, Mitch Gonzalez, It basically means that you need to like have more profiles, in order for you to essentially scale your outreach. If I have a message that works and I have good stats, for example, and I'm booking, let's say 5 calls per week, I just need to add 2 more profiles in order for me to go from 5 to 15 calls by just adding more profiles and reaching out to my ICP. So in this case, what you can do is leverage like more and more profiles in order for you to book more calls. It's simple as that. You scale horizontally by adding more profiles in this case. Cool. Using multiple profiles, obviously we talked about that. How to get new profiles. In this case, you can like reach out, to some team members. If you have team members who have profiles and they don't necessarily use it, you can use that for lead generation. Family members as well, if they don't necessarily use the profile, you can use that as well. Or you can basically create a profile from scratch, and wait until you get around 100 connections before you start any outreach in this case. So the thing with like the horizontal scaling method is that ultimately volume always like beats luck, So I'd rather have more profiles in order to maximize my chances, to book a call, than to have just one and then that's it, Because like, especially when you're at the beginning, you're better off like doing more, having more input so that we can test out what works, what doesn't, than just having one profile, So scale out your outreach with more profiles is going to help you. A lot of people don't do this stuff, and you can actually have more profiles on Sales Navigator and add more seats. So yeah, with like just 3 profiles, you can basically book from 15, to 20 plus calls just using LinkedIn. That's on a weekly basis. Number 14, scaling your cold outreach campaigns using cold email. A lot of the time, people just leverage LinkedIn, but you want to leverage a multi-channel approach. So leveraging LinkedIn plus leveraging email. And what you do is, again, you use intent-based campaigns. So if someone connected with you and they responded to your message, for example, that's an intent. They showed interest, so you can send them an email. Basically like people that viewed your profile, for example, that's another intent. people that commented on some of your posts. That's enough intent. And what you can basically do is like scrape all those different prospects, using a tool like Linker or some other tool. And then from there, you go ahead and create campaigns, cold outreach campaign using a tool like Instantly. And by the way, that's going to be the next video. I'm actually going to break down how to leverage cold email paired with LinkedIn and intent-based campaigns in order for you to get more responses and book more calls, because that's the kind of stuff that helps you to go from 10 to 15 calls to booking like 30, sometimes even 40, 50 calls every single week, so that's really, really powerful. So be on the lookout for the next video because it's going to come. And the final thing is basically number 15, which is to join, the cold outreach mafia to scale your outreach. So basically the cold outreach mafia is basically our program where you'll be able to learn all this stuff, so how to create your messaging, how to basically like scale your cold outreach campaigns, how to find your leads, how to basically create a kick-ass offer, so there's like everything that we've just covered, but times 10 almost, and you can basically learn, the foundations, as I told you, to create a no-brainer offer. You'll learn how to generate leads tailored to like your ICP, how to supercharge your outreach, by basically leveraging cold email, how to qualify your prospects in 15 minutes to make sure that your prospects quality go up, how to pre-sell like a pro, leveraging like VSLs, sales assets to make sure that your prospects is like pre-sold. Because the thing that we want to do with cold outreach is we want to turn cold into warm outreach. Basically, we want to sell to ready to buy prospects. So that's why we create sales assets to make them more educated about your current solution. From there, you have close more clients where we actually give you all of our closing, strategies. From there, how to follow up like a pro, to make sure that you're following up with more prospects and you can close more deals. How to manage, and lead your appointment setting team, because basically, like, you can leverage all this stuff and do it yourself, but it's a lot better to have like an appointment setter or an SDR that goes ahead and books those calls for you. Essentially, it's going to show you all the components that you need to have in order for you to book, from 5, to 10 plus appointments, every single week, and for you to scale out your outreach. On top of that, we basically have like weekly calls, and that's like the main difference, compared to most like programs. Is basically we have weekly calls with all the members, where you can ask questions, you can basically like hop on calls and tell us more about, your specific pain point stuff that you're experiencing, or you can basically like request us to like help you with your messaging and stuff like that. And by the way, this is not like a crazy expensive program like most people in this case. That's why it's just so surprising to have like still weekly calls, and we actually help you. And yeah, so if you want to check that out, that's going to be down below. You can check out the cold outreach mafia, essentially a group and community where we learn how to generate more sales calls using LinkedIn, cold emails, and leveraging our outreach in order for us to get ready to buy prospects, essentially. So yeah, so that's pretty much it. You can go ahead and go down below in order for you to check that out. But the next video is basically a video on cold outreach, most likely, so you can actually check that out, or maybe it's there, I don't know, either there or there, but yeah, go ahead and check that out as well. And yeah, hopefully this was a banger. I'll see you in the next one.